Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm MSA and today I just decided to show you guys my foundation routine because most of the times I'm just focusing on my eyeshadows and then lipstick and blush and highlighter, but I'm just stripping everything back. As you can see, I'm completely barefaced, so I want to show you what I do from start to finish. So my skin is already cleansed, I have moisturizer on, and I have put on some sunscreen because I've been out during the day. As you can see, there is quite a discrepancy between the color of skin on my face and my chest and my hands. I'm just 100 different shades of brown. It's just the way it is, and this is a common problem that people with dark skin face, but I'm going to show you how I get around it. So first thing I'm going to do is apply primer. The primer I'm using is the Becca Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector. This is a heavy duty primer. It's fantastic for very oily skin, or if you've got combination skin where you have an oily T-zone. I tend to put this mostly on my T-zone and it just helps to control the oil all day. Oh no, why is this not focusing on my face? Then for the rest of my face, I'm using the Bare Minerals Primetime Original Primer, and this has a more of a smoother silicone-like consistency, but it does really help to control oil in other areas. Like, I'm not so oily for the rest of my face and under my eyes, so I love to put this on. And honestly, foundation just glides over this. It has such a beautiful texture. I absolutely love it. And this one, I think if you've got normal to combination skin, you will love this primer. The next product I usually use is the Hyaluronide HA Blur by Decium. This stuff is amazing. It's got hyaluronic powder in it and it just blurs the skin. So I find that it's really useful. Before I get on camera, I actually put this on and it just, I don't know, it kind of smooths all my pores because I have very textured skin. It's part and parcel of having really oily skin is that I've got really big pores and just uneven texture. And I just love what it does to my skin. Apparently you can put this over foundation as well, but I prefer to use it underneath. Next I'm going to prepare my upper eyelids, and I'm just applying some concealer on just a small blending brush all over just to create a nice canvas for my eyeshadows. And then to stop it from creasing, I'm just going to use a fluffy brush and some translucent powder just to set that. By the way, do you like my mirror? I bought it this week, and well, last week actually. It just arrived in the post today. I love Miss Piggy. She's so cute. Very narcissistic, but I just like her. I need to be a bit more of Miss Piggy in my actual life, but without all the narcissism. Next, I'm going to set my primer. So I'm using the Beauty Bakery. This is the flower powder in the shade Cacao, and then just a dry beauty blender. And I'm just pressing that onto my most oily areas, which is the center of my face. And this just creates an additional barrier between my skin and the foundation. Again, if your skin is not as oily as mine, I would recommend that you skip this step. Then the next thing I'm going to do is color correct. Now you can see underneath my eyes I am a little bit darker than the rest of my face. So I'm going in with an orange toned concealer. This is by Maybelline. This is their Eraser Concealer. So if you have lighter skin than me, then go towards a lighter orange color or a peach if say you're Caucasian, and only put that on the areas that are darker, and it just helps to neutralize it. You only need a small amount, and that's about all I'm putting on. To be honest, I often skip doing this these days just because my foundation and concealer are so full coverage. So I find that the darkness in this area doesn't really peek through during the day. But if it is a problem for you, then make sure you don't forget this step. And just blending this all in with a concealer brush. I'm looking so orange right now, but not to worry. This is all going to be covered up. Time for foundation. Now I love my Bare Minerals Bare Pro foundation. This is in the shade Truffle, and I do add just the tiniest amount of this foundation mixer by NYX. It's just a darker brown color because what I'm trying to do is to get a color that is in between the shade of my face and my neck, just to give a little bit of balance. So I use about 4 pumps of this on the back of my hand and add the tiniest bit of the foundation mixer. That's about it. And I really encourage you guys to experiment with mixing foundations until you get the right shade, because if you're lucky, yes, sometimes you can get the perfect shade match, but sometimes you can't. But I never see that as really being an obstacle because I like mixing colors, so that doesn't bother me. I just find it's just nice when you can get a custom shade. Okay, so to apply my foundation, I'm using a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, and I'm just going to stipple that first of all, just on the areas where I put the powder on. And I like to stipple so I really press it in so I don't lift off that powder. Do put some on my lips as well. Taking some down my neck just so that it blends in a bit better. Next I'm going to do is contour my face, and I'm using this foundation stick by L'Oreal, and as you can see it's like probably 4 or 5 shades darker than my actual skin tone. So just putting that onto just beneath my cheekbones and just on the angle of my jaw. I don't put this on my nose just because it's so oily, so I prefer to contour that area with powder, which I will show you later. And I'm just using this stippling brush by MAC and just blending that all in. I love using a stippling brush for this just because it blends but it doesn't disturb the foundation that you've put down underneath. So I highly recommend getting one if you're blending things on top of foundation. You can use beauty blenders as well for contour, but I just prefer the stippling brush for this step. So it's time to highlight, and this is where I really get to match my face to my chest, and I pick a concealer color that is close to the shade of my chest. This is the Maybelline Eraser Concealer in the shade Deep Bronze. So just popping that on the high points of my face, and you can see this is still not quite as bright as my chest, so I'm going to go in with another shade that is a bit brighter than this in a second. Now for the shade Tan, which is brighter. Putting most of that underneath my eyes because that's the area I want a lot brighter, and I find the mixture of these two colors gets me as close to my chest as possible, and that's what makes it look more cohesive once it's blended. So moral of the story is, if you've got hyperpigmentation on your face, try to match your highlight color as close to your chest as possible, and also pick a foundation shade that is in between your face color and your chest for a more natural finish. Now time to blend. I'm using a damp beauty blender. It's important that it's damp, otherwise it will not blend very well. And for this part of my face, I've learned to blend the bottom section first of the concealer and then work my way closer to my eyes. I just find it just gives a much better blend. I'm going to look up for this bit, and that just helps me to get right into all the creases underneath my eyes. Now, and you want this to look really flawless, so I'm going back in with my foundation brush. There's no extra product, and I'm going in to sort of blend the areas in between where the concealer meets the foundation. It's all about the blending. It takes the longest amount of time, but the most important step. Before I start setting everything, I'm going to go back in with my beauty blender just underneath my eye area, just to make sure everything is very smooth. So without looking up, I'm just going to quickly set underneath my eyes with some translucent powder. This is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake setting powder in the shade Kunafa. And the reason why I'm not looking down is because I want to make sure everything is set as it is, and it just ensures that there are no creasing in those inhaling this powder. It's just because foundation settles into the fine lines underneath my eyes, so if I look up, and set it at the same time, it stops the creasing. Note to self, don't inhale translucent powder. I'm going to go ahead and set the rest of my face now. I'm going to set the rest of my face using my Beauty Bakery Flour Powder and a Real Techniques powder brush. It's a very big fluffy brush. And basically on all the areas where I did not put concealer on, I'm just going to apply some of this powder. Also, don't forget your neck area as well. Then on either side of my nose, I just pinch the brush and then I apply the powder, and this is just a very, very gentle contour, and just bring some color back into the center of my face, because after I apply the lighter powder, it can look a bit featureless. Then time to contour. I'm using my Revolution bronzer. This is in the shade Deep. I'm just applying it with a Real Techniques Rebel Edge brush. And it just sort of accentuates the contour, adds a bit of warmth at the same time. I'm also going to put some on my jawline. A tiny bit just around my forehead area. I'm going to use the same powder just to contour my nose. So I'm using a Crown C529 brush and just the smallest amount because this stuff is pigmented. And I'm just going to go from where my brows end and then down the side of my nose. And I recommend doing this very, very slowly and building it up. Otherwise, it will not look pretty. And then to help blend in that nose contour so it doesn't look like there's two train tracks on either side of my face, I'm going to go back in with just my light translucent powder, just all over my nose again. Just gets rid of any harsh edges. I'm going to set my face with my NYX finishing spray, and this just stops it from looking powdery and it locks everything in. Keeps the oil at bay as well. I'm just going to get my beauty blender and just press it into my skin, and it just stops all the droplets from sort of sitting on the surface of my skin. So that is how I do my foundation most days, and I did create another tutorial showing you how to do the eyeshadow, the lips, and the rest of my face. So I will link that tutorial to this one just in case you want to go ahead and watch that one too. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you found this tutorial useful, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next one. All right, bye.